Good morning. My name is Vernell, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the CAIT Client Management Community Webcast. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. If you would like to ask a question during that time, simply press *1 on your telephone keypad. To withdraw your question, press the # key. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. You may begin your conference.
Thank you. Happy Wednesday, everybody. This morning we're going to be hearing from Sandhu Raj about mobile device management and client management integration. Laurel will be giving a product update. And please remember to use the Q&A and not the chat so we can make sure that we answer all your questions. Thank you. And Sundar, it's all yours.
Hey. Thank you.
And actually, it's gone to Laurel.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Laurel Gentry, Product Manager. And today, before I turned it over to Sundar, I wanted to just take you through some product updates. Just a quick agenda. I will do some introductions as we do have some guest speakers on the line today to present MDM. And then we're going to have Stephen Parker do a demo of the integration between MDM and client automation. And then we're going to discuss the integration roadmap. So just quick introductions. Guest speakers today from the mobile device management product are Sundar and Brian Peck, both product managers in that product area. Also, you have me, Laurel Gentry, Product Management, and our Intrepid Services Architect, Stephen Parker, who many of you will be familiar with. He will be doing the demo of the actual integration between Client Automation and Mobile Device Manager. But before we jump into that, I just wanted to give you an update on things that have gone on since we last talked in October. Last October, we gave a very detailed presentation of all of the features and functions that were targeted to go into the 12.8 release. Now, the call that we had in October was just prior to beta start. So we've had a very, very busy last quarter of 2013. We performed a very successful beta, and thank you to all of those on the line and in this community that participated in that beta. As I said, very successful beta. We have a large percentage of those beta customers who are in the process right now of upgrading to 12.8. So after that successful beta, we went GA on January 2nd, so earlier this month. The new release is available via electronic download from the support site. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about the documentation because it has changed how you access that documentation. I have a screenshot up here of the support site, and you just go to the documentation download, and instead of find other product documentation where you can access the previous releases documentation, you go to the first selection, select a bookshelf, and you enter in the product name, and you're able to see the documentation online. So if you want to understand what was put into 12.8 as far as new features and functionalities, you can access the product documentation and look at the release notes. You're also able to go on to the community and from the message boards access the previous webcast that we did in October, and that gives a very detailed discussion of the features and functionalities that we put in the 12.8 release. I also wanted to let everyone know that we do have upgrade and implementation services available with the 12.8 release. Now, these services come in a number of different packages, from just simply assessing your implementation and making some recommendations for how you go about performing your upgrade, clear through doing and performing the entire upgrade for you. Now, these services are available right now, but we are in the process of putting together some collateral so that you can see the different service packages that are available. Watch the community site for more details about that, or contact your account representative. Now, to upgrade to the 12.8 release, we do have a number of direct upgrade paths. You can upgrade directly to 12.8 from 12.5, 12.5 Service Pack 1, and Service Pack 1C1. It's important to understand that in the next several weeks, we will be sending out an end of service notification for 12.5. 12.5 will be supported for the remainder of this year. It is likely that the end of service date will be sometime in January or early February of 2015. So if you're on 12.5, it's important that you make those upgrade plans now. 12.5 Service Pack 1 and 12.5 Service Pack 1 C1 will be supported for a further additional year. So end of service dates on those two releases are targeted for somewhere in January or February of 2016. But we do want you to take advantage of these implementation services, start planning your upgrade now. I also have detailed upgrade path information on databases, features and functionality upgrades. That is available on the support site. And in just a few minutes, I will go to the support site and show you where some of these artifacts are. Also in December, last month, we announced an integration between Client Automation and CA Mobile Device Manager. This integration is available on all currently supported releases of Client Automation, 12.5, 12.5 Service Pack 1, Service Pack 1 C1, and 12.8. And I will show you in just a moment. I'll share out the support site and show you where some of these artifacts are, just give you a little bit of an orientation so that you can see what these will be. This is our support site. Here's our general availability announcement with information to access and download the release. We have the announcement for the integration to mobile device management that contains details on how we've implemented that integration. We've also, besides going to the documentation link here on the left panel, we also have the documentation now linked directly from our support page. So you can go directly in here and get release notes to understand what new features and functionality are in release. Under the recommended reading, we have the upgrade tabs to Client Automation. That will launch a PDF and able to see all of the different update information that you will need to know depending upon what features and functionalities you have implemented. So as you're planning and starting to look at upgrading to 12.8, certainly access this upgrade path information document. And then under product status, we have a link to the MDM integration, which is implemented through our asset converter. So this takes you directly to the asset converter download page and allows you to download that asset converter, allows you to download the README of that integration so that you understand how it's implemented, and download the specific template files you'll need to map that MDM data into Client Automation. So at this point, I would like to go ahead and turn the presentation back over to Sundar. So if I can get back to the correct page. Let's see. I need to stop sharing before I can go back to the page. And I will turn this over to Sundar, who is the product manager of the MDM product. And he is going to talk about the features and functionality of the MDM product. And then he will turn it over to Stephen Parker, who will do a live demo of the integration that's been done. Sundar, I've turned it over to you.
Thank you, Laurel. Can you see my desktop?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you all. Thanks, Laurel, for the introduction. My name is Sundar Raj. I along with Brian Peck, who is on the call, manages MDM product for CA. I think we had a call about 4 or 5 months ago after the introduction of MDM product, and we are quite excited to share all the additions that happened since then. And also, we want to share with you go forward roadmap items that we are planning to implement. We are quite excited. There are some new, very, very interesting new features that is available that we are going to be announcing in Mobile World Congress. I'm glad this is the first audience going to get a glimpse of what we are going to announce. From an architecture point of view, from the last time I shared with you, nothing has changed. It is identical. Obviously, we have ordered some of the security aspect of the product and made some of the improvements on the usability of the products, but in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the different components, remains the same. There is one minor change. We did actually have a third-party crypto library that we were using, and that was removed, and now we actually use standard OpenSSL for communication that required a minor tweak in the configuration, and the release notes for Q3 and Q4 will actually as covers all those Delta information. The use case is typical use case, like what I shared before. The user comes into a self-service portal with a iOS or Android or a BlackBerry or Windows desktop, and presented with a very simple to use self-service portal where they provide their Active Directory credential for the enterprise, and depending upon which part of the organization they belong to, the IT admin decides to configure the device, any of the mobile endpoint device. Also, depending upon the organization, they can push a specific mobile app, whether it's an enterprise app specifically written for a given enterprise, or it's a public app, which is productivity app that IT admin deem useful for the enterprise users. So automatically the CA-MDM gets pushed to the device and gets configured. The configuration includes anything that is needed to access the enterprise resource, such as Wi-Fi, VPN configuration, email server configuration. If a specific enterprise requires a VPN access, VPN endpoint, and we do support variety of VPN endpoints, which I will go into detail a little later, and also the Wi-Fi. So within 60 seconds on an average, a device which is unmanaged, it's your own device, your iPhone or iPad, that you have in your possession, and you want to come and access the corporate resource, our tool lets us do it in less than 60 seconds. So within 60 seconds, you can bring the device under management if you choose to. The product is nicely integrated with the standard Active Directory that you will find in any enterprise network. And also we have a CABI Analytics, which is something that we are very excited to have that recently, which I will actually demo as well, integrate with the CABI Analytics. The CABI Analytics has the integration provides a cohesive view for the IT admin or a CIO or a CFO, depending upon what they are looking for. So I'll take a look, I'll draw to that slide and explain a little bit more. In terms of what has happened in the last 2 quarters, before the last meeting that we had when I presented CA-MDM, we have provided support for iOS 7. Since iOS 7 came in October of this year, September of this year, adoption was quite rapid, as you guys know. Within the first week, there were 58% adoption, and we had to quickly provide iOS 7 support, which we did. We also integrated with Samsung Safe API. Samsung has very, very extensive enterprise class security aspect of their API that we have integrated. So if you have a Samsung device with a Safe API that comes into the enterprise network, you have a fine-grained control that you can impose on the device, such as blacklisting URL, whitelisting URL. You can do a lot more finer control on the device with respect to different configuration policy and application policy and so on. We also added support for BlackBerry 567. Now it's fully supported, and it is the notification mechanism is driven through a SMS gateway. You can use any of the gateway of your choice using SMPP protocol. Due to a popular demand because of one of our large customers, we also added Oracle 11G support, which has been one of the main features that we added. I did mention about the CABI Analytics. We have announced the CABI integration. If you actually go to the download page of CA-MDM, you will have a link to download. This is part of a CA-MDM offering. If you're already a CA-MDM customer, and if you want to actually integrate, if you want to use the CABI, it's downloadable, and it's downloadable for free. And the most exciting other feature that we added, first time we actually, both the groups, product groups collaborated, and we actually managed to get Client Auto and CA-MDM talk to each other. Primarily, it's Client Auto talking to CA-MDM, and my colleague, Stephen Parker, will be actually demonstrating this new exciting feature that we added recently. We also have, in the true spirit of BIOD, we do have support Windows desktops. We found some networks, some of the, in the BIOD scenario, we need to support network independence. The prior product, we actually had a direct one-on-one internet connection to get the devices under management. And we found that there are some networks which require a proxy support as well. So we do fully support the proxy if Windows desktop is sitting behind a proxy either from Microsoft IIS proxy or any third-party proxy. Now we have a mechanism to manage that endpoint as well. And we also added some additional, to support proxy, we also added some API extension to the client side. Moving on to the CABI integration, essentially there are 4 different features that we have added. We actually will provide, if you go to this download page, you can download the BIR file. And there are 3 ways you can access the CABI reports, either through a standard web interface, through any standard browser from any desktop, and also a couple of applications that are downloadable from either a App Store, iTunes App Store, or a Google Play Store. And if you look for a BI Explorer app, that's the right app to be using to access the BI content, BI analytics and reports. Right out of the box, we have created 4 different views or info spaces. One to talk about the applications that is available on the devices, and application inventory, device inventory. And since ours is, since the MDM, the mobile devices have, there are some scenarios where the device may be compromised, or people may be using without proper password, PIN, and so on. And the compliancy, which is very key for IT administrators, and compliance reporting is part of the standard reports as well. And I will actually demonstrate the reporting feature of this product, what we have done so far. Moving on to the next slide, the first order of integration that we did is with Client Auto, which we will be demonstrating. And by virtue of integrating with Client Auto, we also have Service Desk integration, Service Desk 1.0 that is available from CA. So this is the first mobile-aware Service Desk, which you have a view of an assets, of the mobile assets through the Service Desk. Through the workflow, you can understand what this device that a customer has and what applications are installed and configuration information and so on. And we also do have plans to integrate. This is all roadmap items subject to change, but we do have plans to integrate with other product suites from CA. That kind of gives a complete view of MDM's integration with other CA products, enhancing the security aspect, enhancing the authentication, 2-stage authentication, and you can see it becomes a lot more tightly coupled with all other CA product suites. Right now, we have integrated, as I mentioned, with Client Auto. By virtue of Client Auto integration, we also derive the advantage of integration with Service Desk. What's the difference between these two? Well, in terms of endpoint management, there is evolution that's going on. That's beyond anybody's doubt. BIOD has become a phenomena, whether we like it or not. And with BIOD comes all the security concerns as well. So we always view this world into 2 different for the foreseeable future. We feel that there will be a company-owned devices that's going to be issued by the IT admin, which has a tight control over what they can put on the device. And that's where our Client Auto product perfectly suits in. And if the device is a mobile device, and if the device has, it's not owned by you, it's not owned by IT, but it's owned by end user, we need to be diligent, we need to be respectful of what we can do to the PC or a iOS, Android platform. And the CA-MDM management platform is perfectly suited to manage those 2. But if you have both, what we have done is essentially integrate these 2 into one coherent, holistic view, where you have integrated access to all the application assets, all the device inventory information, and so on and so forth. So what we have done essentially is we have a series of things that we plan to do, but as first order of integration, Client Auto basically had as 2 assets into their portfolio, asset collector and asset converter. And the first order of integration is essentially extracting the information about CA-MDM from the database, all the application device inventory, and then convert using asset collectors and do a periodic poll and present it as a unified inventory and application from a Client Auto point of view. And we have some exciting, interesting new roadmap items that Laurel will share where we are taking it to the next level as well. So moving on to, this is not an eye test, but I specifically threw this because I believe I showed this in the last presentation. It kind of highlights all the new changes that went into the product for the last 2 releases. So the Oracle support, integration with ITCM, Client Auto, Samsung Safe, BlackBerry support, and Cabby Analytics. So that's where our product is as of now. As you guys know, we do quarterly release, and Q4 2013 was out as of Christmas. So all the features you are looking at in this particular product, in this slide deck, is available in Q4 2013 release that we did. And we are quite excited to share some new stuff that we are working on for 14 Q1, which is upcoming this quarter. We have a iOS 7 support, I did mention before. Now we are actually taking that to a next level in terms of adding additional features, which I will share with you. And Samsung, we have a partnership agreement with Samsung, and we find their device API is quite extensive. And Samsung has come up with what they call it as a Knox container. It's a kind of a dual persona. If you have a device which is your personal device, there is a concept of Samsung Knox container, which provides a completely shielded view where you can provide all your enterprise apps without compromising usability, and all the applications resides in a different container. From an MDM point of view, they have exposed certain controls, and we have actually integrated we are in the process of integrating our CA-MDM to support Samsung Knox container. The third one, this is actually internal name, not to be shared. I mean, it's a product called CloudBridge. It's really an enhancement to our product. Currently, our product is hosted in either an on-prem or a cloud situation. In the cloud, in order for us to access Active Directory and Certificate Authority, we had to do site-to-site VPN. We are trying to remove that dependency in terms of trying to make it a little bit faster in terms of rollout. Instead of manually configuring the site-to-site, we want to automate that through a software component called CloudBridge. That's the internal name, subject to change after the marketing approval in terms of what it will be marketed as. I will get into a little bit of details on that. We have done a lot of security enhancements, and we also are providing Windows 8 phone support. Windows Phone 8 support will be on par with what we have done with iOS 7 and Android. Whatever Microsoft chooses to expose, we are fully exploiting all the features that Windows 8 phone supports with respect to MDM. We also done quite a bit of performance improvements, primarily on the database side. As you saw that by supporting additional database, Oracle database, we can scale higher, and we have also done quite a bit of improvements in terms of on the server side. Reducing the number of restarts that is required for upgrade and so on. We also have provided, we are providing NAC support. I'll explain this a little bit. So let's say that you have a device that hits the enterprise network for the first time. What this particular feature does is automatically redirects the user to the self-service portal of CA-MDM. So if a device has never been registered, never came into the enterprise network, you want to bring the device under management, the user will have to, as soon as they access their Wi-Fi access point, the landing page will become the CA-MDM SSP, which will force the user to enroll. Through the enrollment process, we can bring the devices under management. In terms of iOS 7, the device enrollment has become a lot simpler. The look and feel, we have upgraded the look and feel of the application to be consistent with iOS 7 GUI. And we have some new additional policy and restriction options that was provided as part of iOS 7 support that Apple has exposed that we have leveraged. And there are some new device lock options. There are 2 features that is very, very important that we feel that is key for iOS 7 adoption within enterprise that we are integrating with. Single sign-on. Right now, you can create a collection of apps, enterprise apps, and you can create a policy where you can say if all these applications are going to access enterprise, instead of forcing them to sign on for each and every application, the token gets passed between the application. This is really a feature of iOS 7, but we provided a mechanism from an MDM perspective to do that. And similarly, there is also a new feature that is available in iOS 7 that you guys are probably very familiar with, where each application, each enterprise application has an ability to create its own VPN. They call it micro VPN. So for instance, it's a Salesforce app. Only the Salesforce app, will take a typical case with any enterprise. They might let the email to be accessed through the internet using TLS or SSL type of encryption, but there may be some very sensitive, other sensitive application, either it is hosted in different network or within the enterprise, they might force you to use a specific VPN. So that only that particular application requires a tunnel. And we have integrated that feature with MDM where you can define a specific feature, and then you can also define what type of VPN protocol you want to use to access for that particular application, including the configuration. So this is quite a comprehensive feature set that we are planning to announce in Mobile World Congress, followed by standard release as part of Q1 2014. I did touch upon Samsung Knox. The Samsung Knox container provides enhanced security above and beyond the Safe API that they already provide, and we have MDM now manages the Knox container. And it does enhance the platform application security, some additional controls from a mobile device management perspective, and we fully support Samsung Knox for enterprise. Windows Phone, now finally we get a Windows Phone 8, full-fledged Windows 8 client. In terms of features and functions, it will have inventory collection mechanism. It does have an enterprise Windows Store mechanism similar to what we present in iOS Android. And device tracking, they do also have a notification mechanism similar to APNS and GCM. And Microsoft has, they call it MPNS, and we integrate with MPNS for ad hoc messages and remediation messages. And enrollment can be done similar to what we do it for iOS and Android device. Briefly on the Cloud Bridge, I touched upon. There is basically it's a product enhancement and also try to reduce the hardware dependency in order for different tenants to access. This is really for the cloud offering. If you're an MSP or a carrier wanting to deploy this particular feature, actually makes sense, where you can actually have our Cloud Bridge connection service on the cloud side, and we have a little application that goes into the enterprise side, and it provides a site replacement for site-to-site VPN. Fully secure, it can carry any payloads like a CA, Certification Authority payload, and so on. So we're quite happy to have worked on this, and this will really ease some of the deployment scenarios for MSPs and carriers. And also we made sure the product is designed in such a way that we can slide very well into any network, any tenant's network. If they have all they need to do is open up firewall port 443, and they can have a proxy, whatever they need to have in the network, without changing anything on the network. We should be able to actually make the end-to-end work. So that's on the Cloud Bridge. We have done quite a bit of improvement in terms of multi-tenancy. We had some difficulty in the past where some of the data was shared across tenants, not any private data, but there is some common data. We kind of isolated all of them, and now logs are traceable as administrative user. And we have done improvement in terms of package servers. So we had a limitation in the past, the size of the package for IPA file, and those kinds of issues, those kind of limitations have been removed. Also performance improvement through locally caching the package server file system. So that's on the presentation. I'm going to quickly try and see whether I can go back to my ad server. Let me see. Do a quick demo of our CABI, our CABI. And let's see. Laurel, are you able to see my iPad?
No, not yet.
Okay,
I think if you go up under, the share. And
no, I am sharing my full desktop. Hold on a second. Just
all right.
This. Okay, I know what it is. How about now, Laura?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. There you go.
There, we see it now.
Thank you. All right, so basically, I want to just quickly demonstrate the CABI integration. So the content, all the device application inventory, all sitting in the database, and we have a CABI instance with the BIR file installed already. And all I did was I went to the App Store and installed this app, downloaded the app, SAP Business Object app, and let me just type in my username, the password rather. Login. So as you can see, we have 4 canned reports: application report, compliance report, device mobile report, and MDM report. So let me drill into the details of each report. Let me get into the application report. So it kind of gives you a perspective of all the apps that are installed. So it when you're IT admin, you want to understand how many apps got installed, how many got uninstalled, and we also have a volume license purchase feature within the product. And in this particular setting, we haven't hooked it up, but you can see the kinds of information you can derive. Okay, if I want to find out what is the top 10 enterprise application for iOS that is being used, and percentage of each application that is being deployed across the network, kind of interesting information for, say, marketing CMO. And here is a report that is very relevant for a security CISO, where he wants to find out how many devices tried entering the network without a password or had an access control violation, and in terms of number of devices without compliance policies, and so on. So if I go back to the device, how many devices, which carrier are being used, and here we can also collect some extensive telecom expensement data that could be used for CFO to negotiate a better rate. So they can find out, how many data roaming minutes being used by different users, different organizations. So it's quite out of the box. There are 4 reports that we created, but there is no limit to what you can do in terms of the slicing and dicing the content. So those are quick demo on what we have done with respect to the CABI integration. Here is another view of compliancy. Find out how many, in this case, all these devices are good devices. If you have a jailbroken or rooted devices by operating system, we can find out how many are there, how many have been compromised. So quite a comprehensive reporting features that we have implemented. And with that, I am going to hand over to Stephen Parker. So he is going to actually share with you the details of our client auto integration.
Okay. Just give me a second while I share some stuff out here. Just takes a few seconds for the WebEx to readjust and start on my system. So hopefully, Laurel, you've got just a slide in front of you. Is that correct?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent, excellent, good. Okay, so before I just jump into the user interface and actually show you some of the data, I just thought I'd quickly run through the architecture of the integration so you get an understanding of what's really sort of happening here. So if we look on the right-hand side of the slide here, we have our MDM management server, and connecting through the MDM infrastructure, we have our mobile devices, be them our phones, iPads, Androids, etc., all collected up into the MDM database. And we'll take a very quick look at just the MDM interface and where we see those devices. So the integration that we've put in place is using a component we call the ACID converter. Okay, sometimes it's referred to as the generic ACID converter, and it's available, as Lowell mentioned at the start of the call, for you to download from the support site. Those of you that also use the ITAM solution, our asset portfolio management, will be familiar because actually it's the same component. Okay, it allows you to map to third-party data sources and then bring data in and convert it into a format that client automation will understand. And that's essentially what we're doing. We're running on a scheduled basis through an engine job or manually ad hoc. We're running the asset collector and converter to extract the data from the MDM database. We're pulling that across into our scalability server, into the asset collector component, and from there it's being uploaded through the engine into our domain manager. And then obviously if you've got an enterprise server above that, then the data will be replicated up to the enterprise, which gives us reporting and access to the data both at the domain manager level and also through the enterprise. And as Sundar mentioned, any of the CA products that feed off the MDB database, such as Service Desk and also ITAM with the Asset Portfolio Manager, they then have access to all those asset information regarding the mobile devices in exactly the same way as they do today, with your traditional desktops, laptops, and servers. So with that, let me just share out another application. Again, I'll just take a second or two to connect through. And what we'll start off first of all is we'll just take a very quick look at the MDM interface, and we'll look at a couple of assets so that we can you can sort of see the comparison of the data between the two systems. So those of you that may recall from last year when we looked at MDM in a little bit more detail may recall this screen. This is a view of all the devices that are in my MDM test system, so obviously not that many. And we can use what we call the device inspector to drill into the individual devices. In this case, I've highlighted an iPhone. We can see it's running iOS. We've collected the user that's associated with that device. So when the user went to the self-service portal and enrolled for management, with MDM, they have to enter credentials, and we've captured those credentials, and that allows us to manage the device by user or by the device itself. And on the right-hand side, you'll see in the inspector the summary information that's being collected. So detailed information about the serial number, as this is a mobile phone. We've got the carrier, so this is Vodafone UK. And we can step across into the device inventory itself, and it collects a varying amount of inventory, which does differ by device. Okay, so you don't get an exact the same set of data as you do from an Apple iPhone compared to a Windows phone. Unfortunately, Microsoft and Apple don't play that nicely together in order to provide common APIs that's the same across every single one of their respective platforms. So the data is very much driven via the API of the vendor of that particular device and the operating system associated with it, be it BlackBerry OS or Symbian and so on and so on. So Android rather and iOS itself. So as we can see here, this is the standard MDM interface. But if I now move over to client automation, hopefully everyone on the call is familiar with this type of screen. After all, this is the client automation user community, therefore you're using client automation, and you probably see this screen every day of the week. So what I'll do is just step through and we'll look at some of the type of data that we're collecting and through the integration points, because I'm sure you're all very much fully aware of the functionality within client automation itself. So At the top here, we see on the right-hand side the system status. We've got a view of all of the managed computers, managed users, and you can see via the asset collector we've got a number of CA MDM devices in the database. So from a summary point of view, we can see instantly, what's that percentage of mobile devices versus, Windows or Linux, Unix boxes, and we can then expand the tree on the left-hand side, drill down into all computers, which of course is actually now really sort of all devices. And you'll see that, in the pane here on the right-hand side, we've now got a holistic view of all of the devices that we have under management. So alongside our VMware ESXi servers, our Windows 7 desktops and laptops, our Windows 8 laptops, we can see some of our mobile devices. And in this first cut of the integration, we're supporting the Apple iOS, the Android, and the BlackBerry. Okay, so we provide 3 templates for the asset converter that are then used to extract those different device types. So if I just start off first of all with an Apple device, let's have a look at this one here. Again, this is your typical summary screen that you recognize, when you're looking at the workstation. It's exactly the same screen. You can see below we've got the related user accounts. So if we were looking at the user accounts rather than the all computers, then we'd also see a list of our mobile device users. And then again, we can launch in context backwards and forwards, between the user to the device, and the device, back to the user. But for the moment, we'll stay on the device itself, and we'll just drill in and look at a few of the inventory items. Okay, so first of all, looking at the system, you can see that we're collecting again. First of all, the corporate status. Sundar mentioned, the concept of BYOD, bring your own device. So we need to identify which devices are owned by the corporation, by your company, versus the devices that are owned by the end user. We collect that data through MDM. We get the model of the device, product IDs, the ROM ID, the serial number, typical, very much, inventory information that you could, would expect, from this type of device. We can look in more detail at the operating system. We'll get the iOS serial number, and version. We can drill into the devices, look at network adapters. In terms of the system status, we'll bring back whether the device is compliant and compromised. And of course, because this data, resides in the MDB, we can use our standard, queries, and policies, to drive automation from these data values as well. So if a device was compromised, we could use an asset management policy to raise an event or open a service desk ticket, etc. Exactly the same as we would with a standard computer. So we collect under the additional inventory, some characteristics that are more specific to the device itself being mobile. Okay, so for example, not many people have a mobile phone inbuilt within their laptop. So under additional inventory, we've put some of the more specialized areas for mobile devices. So we can see here by drilling into the phone, we get the carrier. We can see the SIM number for that carrier, along with the firmware, IML details, and carrier settings. So a lot more detailed information. Sundar also mentioned that we collect some of the policy information. So again, from a reporting perspective, we can look at the restrictions on the device and detect, what's been set correctly or incorrectly. So if the user manages to change one of those settings, or it's a personal device on our corporate network, but it's set to a policy that we're not happy with, obviously MDM can be, configured to push the policy that we do want sent to that device. But we can also take like a belt and braces approach here, where we can actually sort of report and track that at the higher level within client automation. So I'll just quickly drill into an Android device, and you'll see here very similar characteristics. we get the type of device it is, we get the vendor of the device and the model and so on. We can look at the operating system, okay, so we'll see the development platform and normally the OS build, the SDK versions. Android also reports display settings, so if you customize the display on the device, you get additional data for that. And as with both devices, we can also drill down and look at the software. Okay, so we'll also get a complete list of all the software titles that have been installed as part of the operating system, or additionally by the user, or by MDM itself. We'll get a full list of that. So again, that can then feed through into our software asset management and our software compliance through the integrations with the CA SAM solution. Okay, and just lastly, as I mentioned, this is using standard client automation functionality. So I'm not going to teach you how to use client automation, but just as an example, you can build a dynamic group, based on a query, to list all your mobile devices. So you get all of the standard function, all the standard reporting that you'd expect by importing the asset data into client automation. And I think that's probably it for me, and I'll pass this now back to Laurel.
All right, thank you, Steve. So we're quite excited about this integration because the two products together, client automation and mobile device management, gives you one pane of glass view into all of your assets. You're able to use the power of client automation to set up policies and queries so that if something is violating a policy, you'll instantly be notified, and then can use MDM to change any of those systems that you need to change. So what I wanted to do now was go into the future features that we would like to add and extend this client automation and MDM integration. Now, because this is a roadmap, I did not mean to click through that quite so quickly. We have the standard, this is a roadmap, these things can change, that is in the presentation. But these are things that we want to do within the next 6 to 12 months. Now, just a side note, Client Automation 12.8 has been released. We are working on the set of roadmap features that we would like to get in our 12.9 release this year. So in the next several weeks, watch the support site for that updated roadmap, and in a future presentation I will go through all of these added features and functions for client automation itself in some more detail. But today I wanted to concentrate on those items that are on our roadmap, and they're both on the client automation and the MDM roadmap because some of these things will be done in one product or the other, but wanted to give you some idea of where the future of this integration is going. I also wanted to mention the current integration is available on all currently supported releases, so clear back to 12.5, which was released in 2010. You can use the integration that Stephen Parker just demonstrated. The features that we're going to be talking about here will only be available on Client Automation 12.8 or future releases. So some of these, it's very possible, could be delivered in the service stream to be applied on top of 12.8. Or they may be in the next release, 12.9, but we will not be backporting these to 12.5, Service Pack 1, or C1. So the first feature that we want to add, because it will be very useful, is launch the MDM console from Client Automation with a single sign-on. So you're in Client Automation console, you're looking at your mobile device information, and you want to go into the MDM product to do something specific. You will be able to launch the MDM console from the DSM Explorer or the Web Admin console directly into the CA MDM console without having to launch the Mobile Device Manager product or log on. Now, extending that just a little bit further, the previous feature, what I was talking about, is quite literally just a link. It would be a link from the DSM Explorer. It would be a link from the Web Admin console. This next feature, the context launch, is just a little bit deeper. So you're in the client automation product, and you are looking at a specific device, and you see that there is some sort of a configuration policy on a device that you want to change, either just from looking at that device, or if that device shows up on a query or a policy that you've configured to determine, if an action needs to be taken. From that device inventory in Client Automation, you'll be able to context launch into that specific device in the MDM console. There you will be able to take active management of that device within MDM. The third feature here is integration with the CA MDM SaaS implementations. Sundar was talking specifically about CloudBridge and how you can implement MDM either on-premise or SaaS. It's important to note that our current integration, the integration that Stephen Parker just showed you, is available for your on-premise implementations of CA Mobile Device Manager. We want to be able to support the integration with SaaS implementations. And as you know, a SaaS implementation is different than on-prem. We need to collect more data and ensure the integrity and segregation of that data when we pull it into Client Automation. As part of this effort, for the MDM SaaS, we will be updating the integration for on-premise too. Right now, we are using the asset collector, which is perfectly serviceable. It's fine. It's been supported for integrations into ITAM for years now. But what we would like to do is make that much more programmatic, using the API interfaces to collect the data from MDM and pull it into Client Automation. So this will update the integration away from the asset converter and collector and make it more programmatic. We also want to extend the CA Business Intelligence reporting that is available between the two products. Now, with our current integration, we are pulling that data from MDM into the Client Automation tables. So all of that mobile information, that rich data that Stephen Parker showed you, is available in our CABI universe, and you are able to do custom CABI reportings on that, integrating that data with your corporate-owned devices, desktops, laptops, and servers. What this feature is specific to is providing out-of-the-box reports from CA Client Automation that allows the reporting and analytical analysis on your entire estate. So although you're able to make custom reports right now to do this, we would like to make that very much easier for you. When you install CABI, you would be able to take advantage of these out-of-the-box reports to do your analysis. So at this point, I would like to thank Sundar and Stephen Parker for showing us the MDM and the integration that we've done, and I would like to open it up for Q&A. I don't know if we have any questions online. I can take a quick look while we're composing a roster. Yep. Mary, can you start that process?
For now, can you open up the lines, please?
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, you may do so by pressing *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *1 for a question. We will pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.
And while you're doing that, I would like to go over the questions that were asked in the Q&A in the WebEx, because although they've already been answered, it would be good to share it with the group that's on the line. The first question was from Sivan Moodley: how do you install the asset converter in ITCM? And the answer is that you can download that installer from the CA website. In the announcement for the MDM integration, there are links to the support site where you can download the asset converter and the specific directions and template files that you need to install this. The second question was, is there any difference with data integration, whether you have a SaaS implemented MDM solution or an on-prem solution? No difference with the data integration. However, as I explained on the roadmap discussion, we do need to pick up the tenant ID in a SaaS implemented MDM to keep the data integrity. But the data that would come down and be presented in Client Automation will essentially be the same data.
Yeah. Just to add to that very quickly, Laurel, we are actually collecting the tenant ID today as part of the current integration. So, if they are running a tenanted service desk or ITAM solution, then they can make use of the same tenant information that's within MDM as it stands today. That's including, obviously, even if it's on-premise and you're using the MDM tenancy to separate multiple business units. Yeah.
Perfect. That's great information, Steve. So if anyone has any additional information on that, please let us know and we can drill down into more detail.
As a reminder, to ask an audio question, you may press *1 on your telephone keypad. And at this time, there are no questions in queue.
All right. I would like to thank everyone for their time today. If you do have any questions as you review what we've covered today, please reach out to myself or Sundar. Email is very simple for me, just Laural, L-A-U-R-A-L .gentry@ca.com, or send me a message on the message board, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. In the meantime, go out and take a look at the new release, the 12.8 release. And I would encourage you all to start planning your upgrades as soon as possible so that you can take advantage of the new features that will be added on top of 12.8. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Laurel.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That does conclude the conference call for today. We thank you for your participation and ask that you please disconnect your line.